But Brandon, now we are going to move on into the last team we got to talk about, the Roll Tide, Alabama Crimson Tide. And I want to start the podcast off with something we were kind of joking about before we hit the record button of this team. Like, really, it's like, where do you start? Hurts returns. Yeah, they got a guy behind them, but really when we talked about their quarterback controversy, we just did it for some clicks, I'll be honest. I'm not going to lie to you guys. They return a ton of players, and the main thing that's like, wow, what did you lose? You lost Lane Kiffin and you lost Sark, but it's like, what were we joking around?
This was the line. No Kiffin? No problem.
No Sark?
No Sark?
Whatever. That's what it is. And it's like they bring in Brian Dabble, but even when it's like, I look at it and I'd ask you, hey, who's their offensive coordinator? You're like, oh, Brian Dabble. I went, huh? And you said, oh, he's from the Patriots. I went, there it is. That's why they brought him in. They're going to be fine. They're going to be fine even without Kiffin and without Sark. Am I wrong?
No, it's kind of like, it kind of is like Steve Kerr coaching the Warriors.
Mm-hmm.
Steve Kerr, take the year off, buddy. Take the year off.
You could throw Brown out there. You could throw Mike Brown out there, and they still won because they did. My gosh. But here's the thing: is as much as we joke and back and forth, and it is really funny. I think that we do have to seriously take a look at Alabama and say, where will Jalen Hurts be this year in his production as a quarterback? Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people looked at Jalen Hurts and they'd be like, oh, you mean that really good fourth running back for Alabama? No. He's the quarterback. But yes, I see the confusion. I mean, he had like 954 rushing yards on the ground. I think, though, he has a lot of opportunity to be able to improve as a passer. And I think that if he's able to improve as a passer while still being consistently good on the ground, I mean, he doesn't have to never run, but maybe just do it less and throw a little bit more, but only if you're accurate, of course. I think that he can get a lot better, and I think they're going to need him to get a lot better as a quarterback because they've got the running backs. They've got Bo Scarborough. They've got Harris, too.
If he can stay healthy, that will be great. Ground pound, big boy. Mm-hmm. But you're right. Damian Harris, let's not forget about him. He's awesome. And he had 7.1 yards per game on average, per carry on average in each game, excuse me. But this guy was really good. The running backs for Alabama, really good. What's Alabama going to lean on this year? The running backs. Why? They're really good. But I still want to be able to see what Jalen Hurts is able to do year two. Year one, I was thrilled. I was thrilled with him. He came in, and he's this guy, this guy who, wow, this is kind of different for Alabama. You got a quarterback who can run. How are we going to do this? That was exciting. That was cool. But another guy that we also need to talk about is how will Calvin Ridley play into all of this? And we talked about Calvin Ridley, had a whole segment on him on the podcast a couple of weeks ago. Mm-hmm. Make sure you go and check out that segment if you have not checked it out. Talks about Calvin Ridley, talks about him this season, talks about how he will fare against some of the other top receivers heading to the NFL draft next year. But two guys who I can tell you went to the NFL draft and are now in the NFL are Darius Stewart and O.J. Howard. They are no longer there. Two really big targets
O.J. Howard would be the big one in that receiving game that's gone.
Huge. But I think now Ridley's going to be called upon more to not be just the deep threat. He's going to be the
all-around threat. He's got to be.
The mid-pass attack, the short passing game. He's going to be the guy who's going to be called upon to kind of do it all. But at the same time, Ricky, for him personally, I think that's going to help him to be a even better all-around wide receiver who can do it all. And that could certainly help, I think, his draft stock come next year. He's not just a deep threat. Well, he's not just a short passing attack guy.
To me, there are two things that Alabama needs to do to be successful this year. One, run the ball successfully. You were talking about the running backs.
Since 2011, here are the list of running backs that Alabama has produced. And you guys can probably say them along with me. You know them. Mark Ingram, Trent Richardson, Eddie Lacy was pretty good. TJ Yeldon was pretty good. You had Derrick Henry, Kenyon Drake behind him. Alabama knows one thing on offense. It knows recently how to produce running backs. And it knows how to produce running backs who play well in college while they're at Alabama. So if they're able to run the ball and control games, control the tempo of games, and be able to dictate what they want to do, kind of like when you see like those animals where it's like, oh, it's a good animal for attacking because it kind of pins its prey and allows it to, you're going to do what I want to do. I'm not going to do what you do. You're going to do what I want to do. That's what Alabama is going to be because of their run game. The second thing, we haven't mentioned them yet, but the defensive side, how are they going to rebuild the front seven? That's the biggest question mark to me. That front seven that lost a few pieces.
Five guys in the NFL.
And the one that I'm looking at, because maybe I look at him because I remember way back when he was a recruit being recruited, I used to write for a recruiting website for Fansided, and I remember writing articles about Deshaun Hand and where is he going to go? Who's he going to be good with after he signed with Alabama? And I was excited for him, but after that first 2 years, you kind of forgot about him because he went to Alabama, and Alabama didn't need a freshman starting on the front seven. So he's the guy I look at to fill one of those holes on the front seven and kind of step up as the upperclassman. But like you said, they got to replace 5 of 7 positions on that front seven alone.
They've got to replace 5 of those front 7 positions for sure. But I think that one of the things that kind of make me excited about it, that, yeah, they'll be able to do it, is the fact that all 5 of those guys, every single one of them is in the NFL. Mm-hmm. And Alabama has been very well known for, 5 out, 5 in.
Just producing
5
NFL
out, 5 in. So I'm not worried about that. They led the league last year with 54 sacks. If they can continue to get to the quarterback and get to the quarterback early and get to the quarterback often, they're going to continue to repeat that number or come close to it. Another thing for them too, though, and I'm saying these things like with full confidence. Oh yeah, they'll be fine.
Confidence.
Fine, it's fine. But they no longer have Jonathan Allen. It's first time in 4 years they don't have Jonathan Allen there either as a good anchor for that defense. But the secondary, I think, looks to be intact, anchored by Minkah Fitzpatrick. I think that him and a couple of his buddies back there will be able to do a really good job, and I think that will still be able to be a strong suit for Alabama. I think that. I know I am probably overconfident in how they'll be on the front side of the defense only because of what they've been able to show the last couple of years. There hasn't been any fall off, so you just don't question it. It's Alabama's defense. When's the last time Alabama's defense was bad?
Never. That's what I think. Exactly. I can't remember.
But exactly. If there is someone out there who's watching us right now, and
probably before Nick Saban,
and you can tell me when the last time that Alabama's defense was bad, please let me know.
Are we putting a stipulation of just during the Saban years?
I think if there was a bad year under Nick Saban, really dig and find it for me, because I don't remember one. I don't remember a bad defense in college football with Nick Saban as the head coach of Alabama. I don't remember it. So if you can find it, if you remember one, if you're a Bama fan, you're like, this year they sucked. Let me know, because I'm interested. Because that's
his worst season record-wise was 2010 with 10-3. They went 2007. His first year they went 2-6, 4-1 when he took over in 2007.
But I think that we're in 2015 now. Yeah. Years down the road, he's built up a dynasty there.
14-1 the past 2 years, 7-1, 8-0 in the conference the last 2 years. One conference loss. The last time he had more than one SEC loss, the only time after 2008 was 2010 when he had 3. That was it. That's the only time.
And that's why until they prove me wrong, I'm going to continue to think that they're going to be continuing to just produce this great talent. Because why? Nick Saban can recruit. Him and his team can recruit, and they know how to do it. They know what they're going to need, and they go for it. They get it. They get it. And I think that's something that's always been there, so it's never been something that I've ever worried about.
And I pull up that 2013 team because I'm like, oh, I wonder who was on defense. Do you want to hear just the starters for their defense that year?
Yes.
You had nose guard Josh Chapman. You had defensive end Marcel Darius, NFL player. Luther Davis, defensive end. Donta Hightower, linebacker. He's in the NFL.
Patriots.
Courtney Upshaw, linebacker, NFL. Nico Johnson, linebacker. Jarrell Harris, linebacker. Dre Kirkpatrick, cornerback, NFL. Robert Lester, safety. Mark Barron, safety. It wasn't a bad, on paper, it's like, that's not a bad defense.
No.
I mean, to me, maybe the biggest thing was that was the year they had Greg McElroy at quarterback. Maybe that was the reason they lost to South Carolina, LSU, and Auburn that year. Those were the losses they had, and then they still beat Michigan State in the Citrus Bowl that year. The worst year that Nick Saban has had, and the one thing I want to ask you, moving on to the schedule, we got to talk about the big thing. The big thing with this team. We talked about it with Florida State. I'm going to mention it now. That first game, they're playing Florida State neutral site just like they played the USC Trojans last year. I'm going to ask you, how does that game go down? Is that even a challenge? Because I know for Florida State, we got comments in that comment section where they said, that's the national championship for them. That's a national championship game. Could Bama get upset week one? Give me your best pitch that's even a game for Florida State against Alabama.
I think the easiest comment to go to and say that it's a game is DeAndre Francois. You've got a proven quarterback at that position for Florida State. You've got a guy who was in some big games last year. You got a guy who remembers his first game last year that was on ESPN that they played against Ole Miss, and boy, were they stinking for a while. They end up coming back and winning that game. So he knows how opening games are. He knows how big games are. He knows how tight games are. And he's played well in them. And I think that Florida State, the biggest thing with them last year, I think we talked about it in the Florida State video in the ACC preview, was that their defense needed to get better. Their defense needed to shore up spots in the passing game that left so many points. They let through so many points and giving up 60-some points against Louisville and just bags of points. That can get out of hand in a hurry with Alabama. But the reason I think it can be a game is because that defense, A, has got to be better. And I quite frankly, I think will be. DeAndre Francois is now going to be in his second season. And he was very good last year. And as we've talked with Jalen Hurts, what are they going to do production-wise in year two? Hurts, really good as a running quarterback, but you'd like to see him develop more as a passer.
Kind of like we talked about with Fitzgerald with Michigan State, but Hurts is on a whole nother different level.
Exactly. And DeAndre Francois, people want to see how he's able to grow in his year two. So I think that this has the making of a potentially good game. But if Alabama's defense is able to even replicate somewhat of what they did last year, overall in the season, 54 sacks, able to get to the quarterback, able to pressure, it's going to be difficult for Francois to get comfortable week one because you're not going up against Colorado State week one.
Hey, Alabama's got them on the schedule. It's just the third game instead of the first game.
It's not a cupcake week one, and I credit Florida State and I credit Bama for doing that because that means you got some balls on you and you're like, you know what, screw it, let's just go out there and do it. So I tried to pitch you to make it seem like this was going to be a game. But I'm not even BSing you. I think that this could be a game. I'm not saying for how long, but I'm saying that this could be a game because when you have a good quarterback, you can't count a team out. If you told me that you didn't know what pieces they had at wide receiver, you didn't know what pieces they had at running back, but you told me Tom Brady's going to be leading the Cleveland Browns. Fuck, Tom Brady is leading the Browns. You would be nervous. You'd be nervous.
A little bit. This season for Alabama to me comes down to 2 games, and they're bookends. It comes down to the first. It comes down to the last. I mean, LSU will give up a fight. They will lose. Texas A&M doesn't have a chance. Tennessee, good luck. It comes down to me where it's Florida State and Auburn are the only 2 teams on this schedule that I will give. And I'm going to use a boxing term here. Going to give them a puncher's chance to win that game. That's it. Those are the only 2. And the way I'm looking at this season, Florida State will most likely lose that game. And to me, the only real contender to beat Alabama is Auburn. And that's why I think we are going to have an SEC West championship game to end the year. Winner goes on to the title game, and most likely the winner goes to the playoffs, unless that situation we talked about in the Auburn preview happens, where Auburn comes in 1 loss, Alabama comes in no losses, and Auburn beats them, and Auburn becomes the Penn State of this year. Like that. Otherwise, its winner of that game will most likely be going to the playoffs. There's even an opportunity where, let's be honest, if either of the teams, Alabama and Auburn, win that game, we could be in a situation where even if they lost the title game, they would still finish 4 in the playoff seedings. Like, that is how confident I am in Alabama, and I'm kind of like, people might say I'm overhyping Auburn, but I think this division is going to come down to Alabama and Auburn to end the year. That's what I think. I think it's going to be a 2-dog race, those 2 at the top. And if you're asking me, Ricky, who you putting your money on, you would be stupid not to say Roll Tide. You would be stupid not to say Roll Tide, although I wouldn't be mad if we had a War Eagle in the playoff instead of Alabama. I know you'd be upset, but I wouldn't.
Well, Ricky, just to let you know, if we were going if we were trying to see which game was going to be the best based on tickets available from the price that they're available at on ESPN, looking at their schedule, and it has next to it tickets and stuff like pricing. Hold on, this is a fun stat.
I hate this.
This is a fun stat, though.
Okay.
So for the Florida State game, there are 773 tickets available from $396. The Auburn game, there are 2,474 tickets available from $209. The third most popular game would be Texas A&M, 2,957 tickets available from $136. And then the fourth one, and this one, I know it's got to be false. It's the game at Vanderbilt, 1,402 available from $114. So going based on that, it would go Florida State, Auburn, Texas A&M, and Vandy.
Here's the reason why I hate doing that. It's because, of course, the price for just using Florida State and Auburn, of course, the price for Florida State is going to be higher right now because we are closer to that game. We are so far. That's why.
I don't think it has anything to do with the fact that it's on ABC.
Yeah, that's that too. But that's when you buy tickets, it's like, well, why did they cost so much? Well, we bought them the week of, or we bought them the day before. It's kind of like you're held at gunpoint then, basically, because it's like I either go to the game or I overpay for it. Where if you're going to buy them in advance, now I'm giving ticket lessons that I don't have to give.
Ticket lessons.
If you buy
Don't
them
you
in
want ticket
advance,
lessons?
you will pay less. So that's your little economics here. But before we kick it off to them, before I end this podcast, any last thoughts on Roll Tide?
No, but I do have a last thought on ticket preferences and ticket lessons.
Okay.
You know, you said that if you buy them way in advance, they're cheaper. The day before, they're going to be expensive. Not so fast on Chicago White Sox tickets. If you buy Chicago White Sox...
Talk about good teams, Brandon.
Shut your mouth. Shut your whore mouth and go back to your home on Whore Island.
Okay, Ron Burgundy.
Thank you very much. Glad you got it. But White Sox tickets, you can get them the day before, and they will be cheap. You can get them
'cause
day
nobody
up,
wants to
and
watch
they will
them.
be cheap. Well, the hell with you, I do. But no, I think Alabama is going to have another really strong season. I think Jalen Hurts is going to continue to make strides in year 2 for him. And this is the first time that Coach Saban has had a quarterback that's gone back-to-backs. That's there one season. He's there again next season.
That's
since
weird.
A.J. McCarron in 2013.
That's
and we
weird.
all remember A.J. McCarron. No, we don't, but we do remember his girlfriend. Thank you, Brent Musburger. You are a legend and an icon to all of us.
Yeah, and that's how we're going to end the podcast. So thank you guys if you're watching on YouTube, thank you guys for checking out the video, or if you're watching the full podcast, thank you for checking out the full podcast. If you're on Blog Talk Radio, iTunes, or Stitcher, thank you guys for giving us the download or listen. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to check out Patreon, all that good stuff, patreon.com/most valuable podcast. I want to thank you guys for checking out everything. We'll be back next week to finish up the SEC. And as always, have a good day, everybody.